What to do, YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the Step Up 3D soundtrack that came out with the Step Up movie. Basically, this came out in the summer of 2010, and it was the sequel to Step Up to the Streets, and then the first Step Up movie. Basically, they're, I would say, about three for three. I really enjoyed reviewing Step Up 2 with some Missy Elliott songs and Flo Rida and T-Pain songs off that one. There was just a bunch of good kind of dance and club bop and dance R&B and R&B pop type records on there, but this record kind of has a little bit more gloss to it and a lot more like the things that were kind of starting to get popular in the summer of 2010 was a lot more alcohol type songs, a lot more raunchy and crunchy dance songs, and then also like the introduction of EDM and David Guetta stuff. So there is touches of that on here. There's nothing quite as magnanimous and huge as Flow Ride is low from that last time. Flow Ride is on here again this time. But there is a number of pretty affluent dance cuts if this album is like a shade beneath like Step Up 2. I mean, it just doesn't have the fury of Step Up 2. Missy Elliott's not on here either, and she was on the verge of dropping an album back then, but it does have some decent, like T-Pain returns a couple of times, Flow Rider returns, folks like that. I want to say that like Sophia Fresh is on here, so there's just some stuff on here that tries to take the place of it, but it's just kind of the fact that dance club music was kind of transforming at the time. That's really what I think it was club records were becoming more commonplace, or blue collar was kind of stepping more into like the dance club realm, where it was just kind of common, where it wasn't so much the alcoholic side of it was not like, oh, that's just for gangster rap and things. I mean, I know that there were drinking songs back in the 80s, 70s, and such, but just kind of where it's more blue collar and more white collar, and it's you're going to hear these songs at your job more, and there's more singles and that type of stuff. So it's just interesting how that kind of went. And like there's 7 singles on this project, a lot of stuff. I still feel like despite all that, this album feels somewhat mellow compared to last time. Like I said, there's no song on the verge of like Flow Ride is Low or Missy Elliott's Ching-a-Ling or some of those type records, but there are like there's a vast amount of singles that give that attempt, and we'll just go ahead and get into it. So the first single is Freak by Estelle, and this one's kind of a more bass heavy song, especially in the beginning. I almost made this an almost song just because there's like this hoit, hoit, hoit type part in the verse that kind of goes on during Cardinal Official's part. And I didn't really like it as much. It just was on there too much in his part of the verse. But Estelle was just trying to kind of beef up and kind of bulk up like the tempo of the song, and it just was kind of awkward and somewhat annoying hearing that sound effect on the song too much. But it is a good song. I definitely feel like the I Can Be a Freak, that's got a nice earworm kind of chorus that goes along with it, and it's kind of unexpected for Estelle. She kind of takes the place of Missy Elliott this time around, because Missy Elliott is not on here at all, and she was kind of amidst her retirement because of her health. Maybe not her retirement, but her hiatus. And Estelle just kind of delivers like a left field. I just don't know a terrible amount of songs by Estelle, but it seemed like she was kind of more R&B, where this is kind of more of a dance pop kind of dance R&B type song. So it's just interesting to kind of get a song where she's kind of doing the Usher and T-Pain thing. So I do appreciate Estelle for doing that and pulling out one of these numbers and being able to. But the Cardinal Official part was just kind of awkward. I mean, I think like I said, it's kind of an almost song. I just want to give it to her, but I'm kind of borderline not doing that. That's kind of the concept. Second single is This Girl by Laza Morgan. And this is kind of very reminiscent of Sean Kingston. If you know Sean Kingston from his 2007 album, Sean Kingston with Beautiful Girls and Me Love and some of those type records, it's very similar to the Sean Kingston type vibe from 2007, 2008, and such. I mean, Sean Kingston did drop a second album in 2009, but it's definitely reminiscent of 2007 Sean Kingston. And also like that Ayaz dude that did Shawty's Like a Melody in My Head. So it's just those kind of summery, kind of Sean Kingston MySpace type songs that were kind of like uh, pop reggae, that type stuff. Ayaz, Sean Kingston, a little bit of Justin Bieber with Eenie Meenie. I wasn't digging the song too much. I mean, it kind of felt out of place on there. It was nice to kind of get a rework of that sort of vibe, but I don't know how I felt about it. Just didn't quite connect with it as much. I've never heard of Laza Morgan, so I don't know if he's just a one shot dude or what else he's done, but I'd have to see more from him and see his track record just about it. But the third single is already taken by Trey Songz. This is a pretty. I really enjoyed this beat on here. I particularly like Trey Songz in 2010. Not just songs he did like "Sex Room" by Ludacris, but also songs he did off of "Passion, Pain, and Pleasure." That's one of Trey Songz' best albums. So Trey Songz was at his peak in 2010. That was one of his best years. I could say he had a few more peak years besides that, but this is definitely Trey Songz in his prime, and it was just complete syrupy, kind of hypnotic kind of production and melodies that Trey Songz had in here. He just completely sultrily tore that song apart. Just kind of his low key, kind of brooding in a flirtatious way kind of vocals on here. It's just perfect Trey Songz. It takes me back to when Trey Songz was dominant, back when he was having R&B hooks all the time and just a central figure in R&B. So it's just a great one. Real kind of hypnotic, syrupy beat, I might add too. This Instant is the fourth single, and this is by Sophia Fresh featuring T Pain. Sophia Fresh is T Pain's like girl group. I mean, T Pain wasn't in a girl group, but he found someone who was going to do a girl group, and they almost put out an album, but they just didn't catch on enough. I didn't really realize these chicks back in the day, but they have a pretty good song here, kind of. Works as kind of like a nice, typical step up sounding dance club number that's solely focused on the dancing. It kind of gets a little bit silly by the time T Pain's feature comes in. They kind of do like a kind of scripted kind of guest feature type thing, and really T-Pain kind of doesn't really use the auto tune on this album that much. I mean, he prefers to kind of come at you with more like rapping, like I don't know. I don't like T-Pain rapping is not too bad, but I feel like he really could have given himself like there's just a number of times from T-Pain in 2010 where I felt like he could have had another banner year. It just felt like in 2009 and 2010 he kind of took a back seat and wanted to try some new things that didn't work. It's the same problem that I kind of had with the Freaknik soundtrack that I reviewed back in October. Is just he preferred to do the rapping songs more so than the auto tune. And this is the second time, as far as hearing from T Pain in 2010, where I haven't been a fan of the approach that he tried to give that year. So that's twice in 2010 that I've just been kind of like, well, why doesn't T Pain just have like some auto tune and make some hits like Can't Believe It and Chopped and Screwed and stuff like that, like he was just doing like probably 18 months before this, but he just didn't want to. And I mean, it's okay, but it's not. I mean, T Pain doesn't destroy the song, kind of like I said with the Cardinal Official part. It's just similar to the Cardinal Official song, where this one is kind of almost an almost song, just because T Pain, as much as I like T Pain, is not quite as dominant a feature as I would have expected. I mean, there was a point in time where I would have said T Pain feature, definitely checking for it. Seems like it's going to kick ass and it's just going to be an easy hit, but it's not how it turned out this time around, and that's just typical of T-Pain in 2010. But I do like the other T-Pain single. We'll get to that. But fifth single is Club Can't Handle Me by Flo Rida, and this is Flo Rida's new song. It was only natural that they hit him up, considering that Low from Step Up 2 hit number one for like over 10 weeks back in early 2008. So that was just one of the hugest songs of that year. And this one is not quite as rambunctious and quite as dominant. I mean, it's a nice club bop, but Flo Rida had clearly moved on from like doing the kind of T-Pain auto-tune esque club numbers to just he went to EDM. Flo Rida really kept up with the trends back in the early 2010s. He was like the new Nelly. You know, after Nelly kind of phased out about 2008, that's where Flo Rida stepped up to be the pop rap dude. And by the time we got to 2010, this is just what he was doing. Him, Pitbull, and Tayo Cruz all took this genre by storm. These kind of pop rap and kind of dance club and EDM type club hits. And this is okay. I do like it. It's just an easy feel good LMFAO and Pitbull type song, but it's not. I don't like it as much as Low, and it's just kind of really mellow. It's a song I can listen to, but I don't think I would go directly for this record. There's other songs, and I'll get to those, which as the ones I prefer more. But it is a good song. It's just a lot more mellow. My Own Step. My Own Step is the sixth single, and this is probably my favorite song on the album, probably besides the Trey song. I would have to say T-Pain, Roscoe Dash, and Fabo from D for L. If you remember the song Laffy Taffy, that was the group that did that song. This is a pretty good club bop. This is the kind of stuff I was wanting more. This is not EDM flavored or anything dance club related. This is just an easy kind of 2010s version of like a 2000s type club bop and that type stuff. This easy kind of crunchy drinks in your hand type stuff. It just felt interesting to kind of get this because Fabo way out in 2010 felt like a relic considering that his only hit back in the day was just Laffy Taffy and Bet You Can't Do It Like Me, which was very modest. But T-Pain kind of did like some auto tune on the song, but it was kind of a fusion of like rapping and kind of sing-songy melodies. It's kind of like rap R&B, and I like this song way better than This Instant with Sophia Fresh, but I still think T-Pain probably could have just completely torn this apart if he had just let his singing really go crazy. But it's good. I'm not going to complain about My Own Step because this is probably one of the best songs on this album. Roscoe Dash is another person. He's teamed up with Waka Flocka Flame and people like that. He was real popular back in 2010, and he's another sing-songy Drake and T-Pain and those type people, type rapper, and some of those cats that kind of halfway raps, halfway sings. It's a good combination. It's just too bad that Roscoe Dash disappeared so soon. This is a really good song. I really like the kind of, I mean, this beat just really felt like I said, a 2010s version of a club bop, just nice and mellow, not completely. It's not gonna win like awards with how crazy and just triple A that it is, but it is a good club song and definitely a good dance bop. I would buy this album for this song and the Trey song. Definitely, these two would probably be the ones. But I just would have to say it works. And then the seventh single is "Irresistible" by Wyson E. Yandel. They're kind of a Latin rap duo. They've done songs with Daddy Yankee and possibly like Don Omar, and basically they just give out a song that's just like a Latin and Spanish version of like something that Tayo Cruz or Pitbull or Flo Rida would have done back in 2009, 10, or 11. Just that's kind of like if you've heard "Hear Me Now" by Hollywood Undead, that kind of hustle kind of song that just kind of has like that swirling kind of type bop on there. That's kind of what "Irresistible" is. If you've heard a Tayo Cruz song or a Flo Rida song from like 2010 or 2011 that just kind of sounds like EDM, is kind of that blue collar EDM type stuff. That's what Why Sonny and Dell did with "Irresistible." It's just a Spanish version of that. It's pretty good. I didn't look up the lyrics this time around, but I think that's just kind of the bop of what it is. So it works. And but yeah, so just to talk about the rest of this album, because I did seven, because there's seven singles on here. I'm just going to kind of sum this up quickly because it's going to wind up being a pretty megaton review here. So a few more hits I would have to say would be "Get Cool," "Shawty Got Moves." I feel like Jesse McCartney's "Up" is another nice one. Mims's "Move If You Wanna" is a nice one. And I'll just go ahead and list the songs out of 15 that I recommend. So they would be "Club Can't Handle Me," "Shawty Got Moves," "Up," "Move If You Wanna," "My Own Step," "This Instant," "Already Taken," and "Irresistible." And then the almost song was "Freak" by Estelle. So yeah, so that's basically Flo Rida, Get Cool, Jesse McCartney, Mims, Roscoe Dash and T-Pain, Sophia Fresh and T-Pain, Trey Songz and Why Sonny and Dell. Those are the ones that did those songs. This is to kind of talk about some of these I haven't talked about. Get Cool really delivers a nice kind of, probably another of the best beats. This is another one that I would immediately go for. Never heard of Get Cool before, but he just has a nice kind of similar to My Own Step type club beat with "Shawty Got Moves." Probably one of the better. This probably should have been a single, and they should have thrown a different. If it would have been a different rapper, I probably said that this song would have worked a lot better. But I've just never. I think that he's pretty much just a one-shot type musician, and like Mims kind of came back. It's been a while since I heard from Mims. He's the guy that did "This Is Why I'm Hot" that hit #1, and he drops a pretty bass heavy one that's pretty similar to "Freak" by Estelle. He just really tore that song apart. I just really appreciated the kind of probably drunk and hazy kind of club bop feel that really goes along with that. This kind of drunken haziness in that song. And then, yeah, the Jesse McCartney song is Jesse McCartney getting his T-Pain on, and he steps out. He kind of gives like an up-tempo night venue type feel towards it. It's actually pretty interesting because he teams up with like a rapper on here, and he gives like pretty much the widest version of T-Pain I've heard in a long time. I mean, Jesse McCartney doing auto tune is interesting. I guess supposedly he did that throughout the late 2000s and early 2010s, but it's just interesting getting like a Justin Timberlake version of like T-Pain or something and turning it into a dance club and kind of night venue type song. So it works. So, but a few songs I didn't enjoy. I felt like Busta Rhymes really dropped the ball. It had a pretty terrible beat and was just hard to get into. Chromeo was trying to do Daft Punk, and I couldn't quite get into their version. That is felt way too low key for like the concept. I mean, I do like low key, but for somehow just the execution compared to how Daft Punk normally does that stuff was just far better. I need to kind of listen to more songs like that. Maybe eventually I'd like Chromeo, but I didn't this time. And like I already talked about not liking This Girl by Laza Morgan. The Bust Your Windows song by Jasmine Sullivan was just kind of like chick getting pissed off, being jealous in the song. It seemed like the part in the movie where the bad things start to happen and the breakup between the couple kind of happens, that type thing. It seems like that was the culprit of that type moment in the song. But those are just a few of the moments. So me liking 8.5 out of 15. I'm gonna give this record like a 7.25 out of 10. Yeah, so there's only basically 6 songs I didn't like in some degree of fashion, but just to kind of say 7.25 out of 10. I don't remember what I gave Step Up 2, but I want to say I think I like Step Up 2 just a hair or two better than I like this one. It just had more gems, more kind of dynamite hits, where the songs I'd probably say that are immediate that I would purchase this album for would be the Trey Songz song, Already Taken, My Own Step with Roscoe Dash and T-Pain and Fabo, probably the Mims song "Move If You Wanna," and then "Get Cool" of all people, "Shawty Got Moves." Those are like the immediate ones for me. And I also do like Jesse McCartney, but I don't know if I would buy the album for it. And the Why Sunny Yandel, if I spoke more Spanish, I'd probably like that one better too. But that's just kind of the concept. I mean, like I said, the reason why I didn't like Freak as much, but I mean, really, I felt like Step Up 2 just had way more hits. I mean, Missy Elliott really gave some true dynamite hits. Flo Rida dropped a classic, and there were people like Enrique Iglesias on there, and this other folks that just dropped some really dynamite ones, like Kill, like the people that dropped Cherish, that dropped Killa with Young Jock, and there just were tons of them on there that just had some. Maybe this record has more exclusives, but Step Up 2 had better songs. So this one has more exclusives. The Roscoe Dash and the Trey song, and the Sophia Fresh song are all exclusives, but there's not quite as dynamite. So it's just, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, and that's kind of the problem with it. But the social score, I will give like a 7 out of 10 just because it has enough hits. I think out of 7 singles, I wound up liking basically 5.5 out of 7. So that's pretty good. It has enough singles, but between them not being exclusive, all of them being exclusive, and just the concept that they just kind of feel a lot more mellow and not quite as dynamite. I mean, and I know that like they put the effort into it, but these just kind of feel so off to the side, and that's really the thing about it. And I think it needed a hit like Low, but it just felt like Club Can't Handle Me wasn't it. But I did like My Own Step, and I did like Already Taken. I did like This Instant, but it's just like, wow, what was kind of going on here? I just wonder why they just kind of haphazardly just dropped this record. It just seemed kind of odd. But in terms of the future, like the Step Up movies, I don't know. They at least did them up to 2014 or so I don't know what's going on with that at this point. But there just has been some good stuff. I mean, these are good songs, but the approach this time is so lackadaisical. It's just odd. I mean, you get your summary Club Boss, but it just doesn't have the ferocity of like Chingaling and uh, Low, and that type of stuff. But yeah, there are more exclusives, so at least you gotta give credit to that.